Israel wants to make a deal with Egypt. Vivek Ramaswamy wants to make a deal with Putin. And Joe Biden tears down yet another wall. Stay tuned. For the best meat you have ever eaten in your life, go to samsbutchershop.com. Enter the coupon code Triple T when you check out for a 10% discount. Hello, everyone. I am Trailer Trash Tim. How's your mom and them? Happy Wednesday to you. Thank you so much for joining me. A lot is going on, so let's dive right into the water. Let's start with this. As all of you, well, if you're keeping up with the news, most of you know that Congress is deliberating, along with the president, about whether to send an aid package to Israel. And the latest amount that I've read, and I got these stats off of Forbes website. The amount is $14.3 billion. Now, the Republicans in Congress, of course, they wanted to do aid. Biden wanted aid for Israel and Ukraine and Taiwan and all that. And Mike Johnson, Speaker of the House, said, no, we're going to separate these things. We'll deal with Israel, then we'll deal with Ukraine, etc. And we're going to have standalone votes for all this stuff. You know, whatever, man. Of course, nothing about the border, but that's another story. So we're just looking at an aid package of $14.3 billion for Israel. But this would be these monies would be offset by $14.3 billion in cuts to the Internal Revenue Service. Forbes writes, House Republicans introduced a $14.3 billion aid package for Israel on Monday, but proposed paying for the bill by cutting the extra Internal Revenue Service funding approved in Joe Biden's Inflation Reduction Act, setting up a showdown with Biden and congressional Democrats just days after the GOP elected a new House Speaker. So they're saying, we will approve this bill, we'll put it up for a vote, and we're going to pay for the $14 billion for Israel by taking $14 billion away from the IRS. Now, of course, were I in Congress, I would not vote for 1 red cent for Israel. I wouldn't vote for 1 red cent for the Palestinians. I wouldn't vote for 1 red cent for foreign aid, because I'm in line with the founders of the nation who didn't believe in such things. Remember a guy by the name of, what was his name? Oh, that's right, Washington, who said no foreign entanglements. So they're just using this as a gimmick, basically. And my thinking is simply this. If it's okay to cut $14 billion from the IRS, why don't you just go ahead and do that? Period. Forget about Israel. If you can cut $14 billion from the IRS, just do that. Where's the bill for that? Can you cut $10 billion from them? Can you cut $20 billion from them? I don't care. Just cut. Start cutting. I love the word cut. Start cutting. Cut the IRS. Cut all these other agencies. Eliminate these agencies. Forget about the funding to Israel. If you want to talk about that, have that as a separate bill. But let's just talk about getting rid of the IRS budget, or the IRS for that matter. I mean, why do you have to use this gimmick? Well, you know we're in debt, but we want to stand with our great ally Israel. We want to send them $14 billion. But don't worry, we're going to entice we're going to entice Congress by giving them some red meat for their voters, and we're going to take the money away from the IRS. I got no problem with you taking money away from the IRS, but why don't you just do that anyway? Why have you got to tie it into this Israel package? Now, this leads me into my next story, ladies and gentlemen, that I wish to cover. Now, get this. There's a newspaper in Israel, and I'm going to butcher the name of it, but this is for real. Of course, it's not like the Atlanta Journal or anything like that, or the New York Times. It's called Yediot Aharonot. Yediot Aharonot. Yediot Aharonot. Yediot Aharonot. And this Israeli newspaper has written that Israel, the state of Israel, has approached Egypt with a proposal. get this, if Egypt agrees to move the residents of Gaza to the Sinai Peninsula, then Tel Aviv is ready to pay Cairo's debt to the International Monetary Fund. Interesting, right? Stick with me on this. Get the gist of this? Tel Aviv is saying to Cairo, look, Israel is saying to Egypt, if you'll take the Gazans, just get these people out of here, take them from their homes, and take them, move all the residents of Gaza to the Sinai Peninsula, which is south of Gaza, Egyptian territory. If you'll take all those people down to Egypt, we will pay off all the money that you owe to the International Monetary Fund, the IMF. So I got to do a little bit of digging because my question was, how much money does Egypt owe the IMF? And I came up with a really interesting figure. Bear in mind the first story I shared with you. We're going to send $14 billion at least. It'll be more than that, as we all know. But we're going to send $14 billion of aid in Egypt. Israel has told, to Israel. Israel has told Egypt, take all the Gazans, take all the Palestinians in Gaza, take them to the Sinai Peninsula, and we will pay off your $18 billion of indebtedness to the IMF. Can you do a little basic math with me right now? If Israel knows they're getting an infusion of $18 billion from the American suckers, that means if Egypt goes for the deal, they've only got to come up with, what, $4 more billion? And they'll pay off Egypt's debt to the IMF? Sounds like a pretty good deal. Now, as I have pointed, I don't know what Egypt is going to say to them, but as I have said on this channel repeatedly, Israel is a rich nation. The notion that we would be sending Israel money is ludicrous. It's like you or me sending money to Bill Gates, like he needs our money. Israel does not need our money. They have plenty of money. Believe me, it is a wealthy nation, and they're telling Egypt, we'll pay off all your debt. Well, of course you'll pay off your debt. We're about to give you $14 billion more. It's just outrageous. But the question is this. Why does Israel want the Gazans off of their land? And it is their land. Why does Israel want the Gazans to vacate? Why do they want the Palestinians out there? Wouldn't that be an interesting question? I tell you what, folks, when you start doing a little digging, a lot of things come into more focus for you. We have determined through rigorous research, there is a lot of oil and gas reserves off of the Gazan coast, particularly the northern Gazan coast. And Israel recently demanded that the Gazans moved south. Now, I want to reference a website that I've been studying called offshoretechnology.com. And the headline is from June 19th of this year. Israel gives preliminary approval to develop a Gaza marine field. Listen at this. The Israeli government has issued approval for the development of the Gazan marine project 30 kilometers off the coast of the Gaza Strip in the eastern Mediterranean Sea. The field is located in offshore Gaza. Are you scratching your head yet? A Palestinian enclave that is controlled by Hamas, reported Xinhua via China.org. A statement from Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said, as part of the ongoing processes between the State of Israel and Egypt and the Palestinian Authority, with an emphasis on the development of the Palestinian economy and maintaining security stability in the region, it was decided to advance the development of the gas field in front of Gaza. Well, isn't this interesting? Now, when you start putting two and two together, one may conclude that the reason Israel is absolutely leveling Gaza is, do they have perhaps an ulterior motive? And could the, hey folks, I'm just asking questions, okay? I don't know. I'm just asking questions. Nobody's afraid of questions, are we? Why does Israel want the Gazans to vacate? There are oil and gas reserves off the coast of northern Gaza. Rich reserves. And Israel has already told the Gazans before the conflict to start going south. Now, you may be saying, you may be all pro-Israel, and that's fine, whatever floats your boat. And you may be saying, wait a minute, it was Hamas that invaded Israel. First of all, I'd remind you, the United States military, the CIA and Israel trained Hamas. Don't forget, please don't forget that. But you may say it was Hamas that attacked Israel. You know, I have said before, and I'll say it again, you never hear more lies, ladies and gentlemen, than at a time of a war. It is so hard to get the truth, particularly in a time of war. Now, the prevailing narrative has been that Hamas launched attacks on Israel. And as far as I know, that is true. I don't know any different. That's what I've heard. That's what I've read. That's what I've researched. Whether or not that is completely true, I don't know. Is it possible that Hamas could have been doing somebody else's dirty work? I'm just asking questions. Is it possible that Hamas was enticed by someone to do what they did? Is it possible? Is it that's all I want to know. Is it possible? I'm not saying what the truth is because I'm like you. I don't know. I am subject to what I hear and what I read, which is a lot, but it makes me ask a lot of questions. You know, I started asking questions about 9/11 years after the fact, and because I finally figured out the prevailing narrative was it just didn't sound right to me, so I started asking questions. You know, you're not supposed to ask questions anymore. You know that, right? Years later, I started asking questions about the JFK assassination. Why wouldn't we? Why wouldn't we want to know the truth? Do you value truth more than anything else? I do. Is it healthy to ask questions and just get to the truth? Now, maybe the narrative we've been given about Hamas and their encroachment into Israel, their bombing of Israel, maybe that's true. I don't know. But is it possible that Israel has an ulterior motive of getting the Gazans out of Gaza and northern Gaza and the Palestinians out of that area? Is there a reason they're trying to relocate them to the Sinai Peninsula? Is there maybe something there they want? Just asking questions. Now, once again, if you're convinced that the Jews in Israel are God's chosen people, then you wouldn't agree with me naturally, but I'm not going to go there again. I've already told you how I feel about that. But it's healthy to ask questions just to try and find out what the truth is in this situation, because maybe we haven't been told the truth. Maybe the narrative we've heard isn't actually the truth after all. I'm looking at my mic. I discovered yesterday when I put the video up, my microphone came unplugged. I have enough volume. I'm just concerned about sound quality, but it's working now. Anyway, back to the thing. Ask questions. Don't be afraid to ask questions. That's all I'm saying. All right, let's move on. Vivek Ramaswamy is running for the Republican nomination. He's not going to get it, as we all know, but he's running against the field of wannabes, the DeSantises and the Christies and the Haleys and the Tim Scotts and what have you. Vivek is he's a pretty sharp guy, and he's a good speaker. I will give him that. He's a little bit different than the other ones, or probably a lot different. But he recently gave an interview to Piers Morgan when he said that if he were president, he would offer a deal to Vladimir Putin, the president of Russia. And I found this really interesting. Listen to this. Ramaswamy said, were I president, I would contact Putin and I would say, look, I want to offer you a deal. And here's the deal. You break up with China. Specifically, you end your military alliance with the nation of China, and I will tell Ukraine you will not be admitted to NATO. That's his offer. That would be his offer of a deal. Not a bad deal, I would say. Of course, the notion of Ukraine going into NATO, that's never going to happen. Putin is never going to accept that. NATO nations are surrounding Russia even now as we speak, and which is one of the reasons why Putin had to respond militarily in Ukraine. But Ramaswamy says you break up your military alliance with China and NATO will never expand into Ukraine. That might be something for Putin to consider. It sounds at least like Ramaswamy's not talking like a neocon. He's not, Lord knows you never hear this kind of rhetoric out of a Lindsey Graham or a Joe Biden or any of their ilk, certainly not neocon Nikki Haley, or most any Republican that's running for the nomination, probably not even DeSantis. But it's interesting that he takes this different tack. Now, just to get down to the nub of the matter, of course, Putin has been lied to so many times by Western leaders who make deals with him and they break their word. They tell him they're going to do something and they break their word. George W. Bush told Putin that NATO would never expand beyond, I believe it was Eastern Germany. That was a lie. And even now, of course, we have established treaties with Russia, and the American government, the American government has broken them. So Putin would probably look at Ramaswamy and say, okay, that sounds nice, but how do I know I can believe you? Lord knows I couldn't believe any of your predecessors who told me they would do thus and so, and they never did it. But I thought it was an interesting twist coming from Ramaswamy. He's an interesting cat. I'll give him that. You know, this is Trump's race, as I've said, to lose as things stand right now. But I can see a future for Ramaswamy if maybe he's vice presidential timber. I don't know. We shall see. I don't think that's the case, but we'll see what happens. All right, let's move on. Well, we've torn down another wall. This comes from Border Hawk, the Border Hawk blog. It is a news outlet focused on immigration and border security issues, and this appeared yesterday, October the 31st. It's an exclusive. The Biden regime deploys heavy machinery to lift a razor wire for a massive mob of illegals at Rio Grande, Texas. You will remember a few weeks ago I reported how Biden had ordered Border Control agents to cut a barbed wire fence to let illegal aliens into the United States. Well, he's doing the same thing again, but this time he's doing so with heavy industrial equipment. You can go to borderhawk.blog and see the photos of this. This heavy, it looks like a front end loader. It is lifting, literally physically lifting this chain link fence with barbed wire attached to it. It's lifting it from the ground, and there's just a swath of humanity waiting to get in. This happened just in the last few days at Eagle Pass, Texas. The huge caravan of around 300 illegals crossed into Eagle Pass thanks to the Border Patrol lifting the barbed wire. Hundreds of migrants crossed in a few minutes. Somehow, these large groups of migrants are informed about the place and time when the forklifts raised the barbed wire to cross in groups. Well, isn't that interesting? They seem to just know where this is going to happen. Gee, who's tipping them off? How do they know to be at that specific place at the border at the right time? Somehow they knew. Somebody tipped them off. Wasn't me. Was it you? I don't know who it was, but somebody did. There's camera. There are photos of this. There's live video of this. It's just every day, folks, another surge of... I get so tired of talking about this, but it is the #1 issue facing the security of the United States, and the President of the United States does not give a damn. He is encouraging this. He wants this. His stooge Mayorkas is facilitating this every single day. They are swarming into our nation, and nothing's being done about it. It is just, I'm just, how much more has to be said about this? I mean, we are out here pleading for something to be done, and our leaders are just absolutely tone deaf. You know, we talk about the change in House leadership, and we get rid of McCarthy, and then we play footsie with Jim Jordan and Steve Scalise, and we finally get a new speaker in, Mike Johnson of Louisiana, and that takes up our attention for a while, and that's in the news for a while. But folks, let me tell you something. Until we get rid of this evil man in the White House, none of this other crap matters, okay? It doesn't matter if you make AOC Speaker of the House. Nothing of substance is going to change until we have a change in the White House. It's simply not going to change, because there's only so much that Congress can do. I mean, you know, I got no faith in them doing the right thing anyway, but I'm telling you, until we get rid of the president and get somebody in there with some sanity, nothing's going to change. We've just got a little more than a year until we can get rid of him and get somebody with some sense back into the White House. So if we can hang in there for a year, and I don't know if we can. I hope we can. But you're not going to be filled with a whole lot of hope when I get to the last story here. This has to do with something I wanted to cover yesterday. There was a Halloween party at the White House, and the First Lady of the White House, Dr. Jill Biden, the one who walks side by side with Joe when he's walking on the beach, she's there to keep him from falling into the water, you know. Dr. Jill Biden showed up at the Halloween party dressed as a cat. If you haven't seen the pictures of this, I don't know if you want to see it or not, but they're readily available. You can go to the Gateway Pundit and find pictures. Again, I'm almost without words. Jill Biden, the First Lady of the United States, I'm looking at her picture right here. She is dressed, I should have run it off. She is dressed up like a cat. She's in a cat costume, complete with fur and a tail. She's got a tail. She's got a cute little kitten nose. She's got little kitten ears. This is the First Lady of the United States. Contrast Dr. Jill Biden with her immediate predecessor. I got to thinking about Melania Trump yesterday, and what a complete and total upgrade in class we got, if nothing else, when her husband became our president. From what we had before to Melania, I mean, it was like style and grace and charm and class just moved right back into the White House. And I was proud to have this very bright woman who speaks multiple languages. And she's gorgeous, and she's graceful, and she's well-mannered, and she served our country proudly. She got no love from the media whatsoever, of course. But now here we've got Dr. Jill Biden, her successor, prancing around the White House, dressed up like a cat. Aren't you proud, America? Jill the kitty cat. My Lord. All right, that's all I got for you today. Give me your comments down below about what all's going on in your life and everything I reported about today. I'd love to hear what you have to say. Hit that big thumbs up button down below if you would. I would really appreciate that. If you have not yet subscribed to the Triple T channel, as long as you are not an illegal alien, you're an illegal resident of the nation in which you reside, as long as you do not wear a face mask, you are more than welcome to subscribe to our channel down below and join our growing committee. What is wrong with me? I keep saying committee. It's not a committee, dude. Community. Join our growing community. And one day I may put you on a committee in our community. Or something. Everybody go out there and have a great Wednesday. This is Trailer Trash Tim. I will see you tomorrow.